So, welcome everybody. Thank you for joining me today. We're going to be doing the November 2025 energy update. And wow, I've been doing this for almost a year now. This is my 11th month doing these updates. And I'm feeling very grateful for all of you who come on live, but also watch the recordings. Thank you so much. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about 3I Atlas, that interstellar guest that we have going through the inner solar system. And by now, I would imagine you have all heard about 3I Atlas. So we'll be talking about that lovely planet or rock that's moving through our solar system. We're going to talk a little bit about astrology, and also, I'm going to give a little bit from my own kind of general mood and what I'm picking up. And also, taking a cue from what's happening in my life and what I'm seeing around me. And hopefully, this will resonate. And then hopefully, I'll end with something a little bit inspirational for you to feel a little more lighter, perhaps. So, yeah, I welcome everybody on here today on Instagram Live and Zoom. So let's get into 3I Atlas is this comet, or we believe it's probably a comet that's coming through our solar system from the center of the Milky Way galaxy, which is really pretty cool. I mean, we're talking about the center of our Milky Way galaxy is in Sagittarius, in the constellation of Sagittarius from our view from the Earth, or our system of the constellations. And the center of our galaxy is proposed to be maybe a black hole. So I find it really interesting that this is kind of coming from that general direction. And it is only the third, that's why it's called three, the third interstellar visitor that we are actually observing. It doesn't mean it's the first time ever, but the first time ever that humanity has, perhaps, at least modern humanity has observed something like this coming from outside of our solar system. So it's really quite a big deal. And the fact that there's a lot going on in the media about Atlas, and Atlas is a little different than anything that's gone through our solar system. So it is roughly 3 to 14 billion years old. I mean, that's a huge stretch of time, but it's at least 3 billion years old from what they're understanding by the makeup of this object. And that means that it's very likely older than our solar system, which is roughly 4.6 billion years old. So this rock that's moving through our solar system has a lot of ancient wisdom and information and consciousness. I'm coming from a position of everything has consciousness, everything in our reality has some level of consciousness because everything is made of nature. So, for those of you who follow astrology, you know that there is energy and consciousness for all the planetary bodies in our solar system, right? We have the sun, of course, and the moon, and then all of the planets in our solar system that have names that have been given to them by astronomers. And they're named after mostly mythical or mythological characters. And those planets actually have been seen to take on the energy of the consciousness of that mythological character. So here we have this comet, perhaps, moving through our solar system at this very important time for humanity, at these very amazing planetary connections that we've been experiencing over these last few years. Something that is bringing us to a new place, a new kind of evolution of humanity, evolution of this planet. And having this planetary body come through, or I keep wanting to call it a planetary body. It's this body, this orb of energy moving through our solar system right now in our inner solar system for this particular time of year where it's Scorpio season and it's the rise of the yin energy into our consciousness that we go through every year. This body is moving through and it has a significance for us, regardless if it's an alien spaceship. I don't believe so. A comet, perhaps it's something else that we have never encountered or discovered before in our universe, but it is coming with a consciousness and an energy nonetheless. And many people that I follow across all different metaphysical disciplines, channeling and astrology, pretty much I think that encompasses it, are all very hopeful and excited about this guest, this visitor to our inner solar system. And I do feel that feeling of great curiosity and excitement as well, because I am feeling that there is a lot of beautiful divine feminine energy that is coming into our inner solar system just at a time when the astrological alignments have been setting us up for the rise of the divine feminine at the same time. I almost see Three Eye Atlas as being like a trigger that's setting off this tremendous rise of the feminine energy that is been so suppressed for thousands of years on this planet. And I do see that the tide is turning quite literally. So last week, so today is November 1st. Last week, I think it was around the 24th, 25th, we have this really large sunspot on the sun that has been growing. I think it had its 15th rotation. So it's been there for a long time, and it's been growing and contracting and growing and contracting. And what a sunspot is in some of the images that you'll see is it like a dark black spot on the beautiful luminescence of the sun. And this dark black spot is actually, I am not a scientist, so an astronomer, but it is, I believe, cooler than the rest of the sun. But it's also like a weaker point so that the sun's energy can shoot out through this hole. And that's what's a coronal mass ejection, or CME. And as this sunspot has been maneuvering, because of course the sun's rotating, right? Maneuvering toward us, it sends out these big CMEs, which we're hearing about, a geomagnetic storm, and technology may, the grids might have some difficulty with it. What is going on in the last week is this sunspot had turned to the other side, the backside of the sun, which we don't see. And that is where Atlas is right now. Atlas is behind the sun, so therefore it's not visible to us, and it won't be visible to us until the end of November, beginning of December, if it stays on its current trajectory, which it's expected to. It's not expected to suddenly change, although you never know. But this Atlas is behind the sun, and these coronal mass ejections or geomagnetic storms have been huge X-class flares, which are the highest level, and even double X-class flares. So these are just tremendously huge amount of energy blasting out from the sun. And also at the same time, Atlas has been shooting its energetic jets into the sun. And that is something that I understand is typical for a comet, because as it's near such a huge body of energy like the sun, its energy it shoots out because it's getting activated in a way. I'm not explaining it perfectly, but as you could imagine, there is this interchange of energy between the sun and Atlas. They're like in a dialogue, they're in conversation. And one of the things that I feel is such a beautiful thought about this is that this Atlas, like I said before, I believe is like a trigger for the divine feminine. And here you are having a dialogue with the sun, which is the divine masculine in our solar system, the star, the father. We look to the sun for that power and the strength. It's having a dialogue with the divine feminine, and they're exchanging information. They're exchanging consciousness and wisdom. And of course, the sun is continuing to rotate, and the sun will be rotating around to face us again. And I believe the rotation, I think it's like a week or 10 days. Sometime this week, I believe, the sun spot, it is going to be coming over to face us. And if it's still, as big as it was, or even a little smaller, it is in a position still to be right in line with the Earth and the sunspots that come out from the Earth, or the CMEs coming out from the Earth. We'll be receiving, I believe, that information from Atlas. So it's almost as if the sun, our star, is an intermediary between Atlas and us. It is taking in the information and then providing it to us. So I know this sounds, for some of you, really out there. For some of you, it's not any crazier than any of the other theories that are out there about Three Eye Atlas. But one thing I know for sure, it is absolutely not a coincidence that it is here at this time. And with, like I said, the planetary alignments that we've had in the last few years, if you've been paying attention, we're in a tremendously amazing evolutionary period that is just the stars and the planets are just mirroring that evolutionary process. So let's get into a little astrology. If you've been watching my energy forecasts for this whole year, I started actually in January, you're going to know that, or anybody else's astrology forecasts, and let me just interject, I'm not a professional astrologer. Yes, I've been studying since I'm 12, but on and off throughout my life, and really only in the last 20 years have I been really absorbing that information again. So the outer bodies, the outer planetary bodies in our solar system, so Pluto, still consider it a planet, doesn't really matter what science says, Neptune, Uranus, Saturn, those four planetary bodies have all shifted. Did I forget Jupiter? Jupiter also moved in. Yeah, they all shifted signs within an 18-month period. And we're still in a period where they're on the cusp, which means between two signs. These planets at their own pace have been dipping into the new sign and then retrograding back. You probably know that word retrograde because Mercury retrograde has become a very popular concept. So it looks like they're going backwards, but they're not. It's just our view of them in the sky. So these planets have all been dipping in and going back into their old sign and dipping in and going back. And this whole process will be finished, I believe, sometime next summer in 2026. The fact that they're all at the last degree or first degree or 0 degrees, they're all within a couple of degrees of ending one sign and beginning another is huge. But the biggest connection of all is Saturn and Neptune that have been going back and forth over 29 degrees Pisces, which is where they are right now, and 0 degrees Aries. That degree, 0 degrees Aries, is really key to this whole thing. 0 degrees Aries is the beginning of the astrological year. It is the beginning. It has tremendous weight. And these two planets, which probably couldn't be any more different than any other two planets, are conjunct or in lockstep, going over the end of Pisces, beginning of Aries. So right now they're both like 29 degrees Pisces because they started retrograding. And there's two words that I got: reckoning and discipline. And I know when you hear those two words, it doesn't sound really fun, right? Feels kind of heavy. It feels hard. But let me assure you that they can also have a light side. Doesn't mean it doesn't require work, though. Let me talk about discipline first, I guess. So discipline is really associated with Saturn. Saturn, I always say, is the planet of discipline. Whenever Saturn has a major connection in your birth chart, it brings you lessons. They're usually the hard lessons of, I haven't buckled down and done the things I need to do for my goals, for where I want to be. And yeah, Saturn can be that planet of, oh, yes, I have to manage my money. I have to make sure I pay the taxes. I have to be sure that I get all my continuing ed credits before they're due for my discipline, my practice. They're just the things that we typically don't enjoy. But The light side of discipline, this feeling of, I did do the credits, I did do a good job. I guess it's the reward when you follow things, the to-do list that you need to do. And I know right now, discipline is a word. So I'm a yogi. I was just in yoga class this morning, and I'm thinking about, like, the word discipline just went into me. And I went, oh yeah, I got to talk about this. Because if you do yoga, Tai Chi, Qigong, or any those types of practices, oh my gosh, meditation, breath work, any of those types of practices to bring you back into balance, there's a lot of discipline that's required for you to do that practice, to get up and go out and do it, or to sit and allow yourself to have this special time. It's a lot of discipline. But even during our daily life, when we're feeling really upset, perhaps by something going on in the outer world or in our lives, it's to remind that discipline is that little lever in our brains that reminds us, come back into balance, come back to the present moment. The more we can do that, the better off we will feel in these coming months. And it's like, do it now, do it now. So being present in our lives requires discipline, because our minds, our egos, either go to the future or the past, and they're very rarely present. Discipline, discipline. When we start feeling a little low, come back to the present moment. Come back to the present moment. So there's the discipline. It's Saturn. Now, reckoning. Reckoning came to me as well yesterday, and I went, ooh, yeah, that's a rough word, reckoning. And the general mood of this is, well, it's neutral, because it could be bad, it could be good. It's all what we decide. What have we been doing in our lives to get us to this point? If you've been doing the things you need to do to the best of your ability, things are going to move really quickly. Everything's been accelerating. Everything's been accelerating, but it's continuing to accelerate. So reckoning, yes, that definitely shows if you haven't been doing what you have to do, you may have to, be called for it, be called down to do what you need to do. If you have, though, things are going to move really fast. I've been seeing that around me. I've been seeing people in situations, maybe feeling stuck for a while, or maybe coming up to an ending in their life in some way. Something's ending. But if they really are just, doing their work to come back to the present moment, things are starting to move really fast in a positive direction. So that's a reckoning in a positive way. So I do feel like that's accelerating this month. Absolutely. So the thing that I'm seeing it is more of a positive, because Pluto, which I see as the planet of reckoning, is in a sextile with Saturn, the planet of discipline. So it's in a harmonious connection. Now, I also want to say that Saturn and Neptune conjunction, I was thinking of that this morning, and I've been thinking of this for the last year. They've been really close together. And it's interesting. So Saturn is supposed to be like the material world, the struggle, the challenge, the discipline. It's physical reality. Physical, look at that rock, huh? Cool. Physical reality. And Neptune, like I said, is the opposite of that. It's the illusory, it's fifth dimension and above, it's dreams, it's imagination, it's creativity, it's spirituality, it's having faith in things and trust that you cannot see, that you just have a leap of faith over. So these two planets are together in the sky, and they're going to meet up finally for the first time. They're going to be exactly conjunct in February. So these next few months, they're just really close together. And I got this impression that Neptune is about imagination. And actually, one astrologer that I love, Rick Levine, made this comment that we used to think Saturn was reality and Neptune was illusion. But now we're starting to realize quantum physics is proving this, and spirituality from so many disciplines have been talking about it for millennia. Reality is really this illusory Neptunian world where nothing is solid. And Saturn is really the illusion, right? So I feel like at this time, with these two planets that will be at 0 degrees Aries together, is starting this whole evolutionary process that, well, I shouldn't say starting, we've been in it, but really demarcates this shift from the solid reality that we've known to seeing beyond that, seeing the unseen. All right. So, yeah, during this month, we're going to have some beautiful grand trines in water. So that as well is contributing to, I feel, very positive energy, but also it's dealing with emotions, dealing with psychic experiences, spirituality. That's what water is all about, kind of plumbing the depths, but it's in a harmonious way. And I feel like this month and December is going to really bring us to an amazing place. I know I mentioned this last month, but I have really stepped back on watching the news. I dip in a little to just get a few headlines. And as soon as I hear anything that's like crazy, I'm out. And it's really, really helped my sanity. I need that for my sanity. And if you're feeling very chaotic, if you're not happy with your life, either personally or the collective world that we're living in, consider that maybe the business as usual, the way you approach life, maybe needs to shift a little. Maybe. And I think all of these planetary alignments, and I do really feel like Three Eye Atlas is part of this, is helping us see things in a new way. And I think it was last month I did talk about that dream about matter and antimatter. And yeah, I feel like there's this switch. So it's Saturn and Neptune. It really is. My gosh. Matter and antimatter. I didn't even realize it until right now. They're switching, or we're switching from one to another. We're switching from the masculine, the divine. We're switching from the masculine to more of a divine feminine, bringing that more into balance with the divine masculine. We're going through this big yin yang shift, and it's happening right now under our feet, in the air, in the skies, in the trees, in the rocks. So I hope you'll join me to consider just shifting your focus, bringing more, like, just smile. Just smile. If you're feeling not great or you're just starting to get a little anxious, just put a smile on your face. Fake it till you make it. Laugh, bring more laughter and playfulness and wonderment to your life. And I look forward to seeing you next month. Everybody, have a beautiful, enchanted month. Please check out my podcast. I do the Enchanted Earth podcast on YouTube, and it's on all the other major Spotify, Apple Tunes, all the big podcast platforms. In there, hopefully, you'll find some inspiring stories of our beautiful connection to nature. I do hope you will follow me there, and have a beautiful day, everybody.